So I try to avoid using Bondo and filler as much as I can, but in this case, this is a full-size helmet, which I could not print in its entirety on my QDX Max because it's a bit too large. So I had to print this in 3 different pieces. This has been glued together now. I have done a little bit of Bondo on the top here, which I'm going to primer over here shortly. A little bit on the front, but very, very little. However, I do need to get rid of these seams. So I'm going to use standard Bondo glazing putty. I'm going to squeeze the tube here a little bit. You get liquid sometimes in the tube, so you want to squeeze it, which kind of mixes it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a pretty decent amount on here to try to fill this crack. I'm probably going to have to do this a couple times. So I'll have to fill it, sand it, then fill it again. I have tried plastic spreaders. I don't like them. They're just not quite flexible enough, honestly. Cardboard, which you have probably laying around, will actually do just fine. And all I'm going to do is start to lay some of that Bondo in this crack here. So you can see I'm just getting a fair amount in because I want it to fill. In this case, you know, because this is the first pass, you could get away with just using your finger to spread it in as well. Gets it in the crack just a little bit more. Again, this will be a multi-step process. I'll end up doing this a couple times and trying to smooth it out here a little bit so it'll be easier to sand off. This will take, you know, they say this sets in like 30 minutes. I don't know that I would try to sand this in 30 minutes. I usually, after I apply Bondo, let it sit for at least a few hours, let it dry just entirely, and then sand it off. So I'm going to finish this side, then the other side, and then I'll be back after I've sanded it to let you take a look, and then we'll apply another layer. All right, after a quick first pass at sanding, you can see I've got a bit of a mess here, but I've now put on a second layer of Bondo, much more specific now, down to the areas that might have cracked a little bit. The Bondo container will tell you that it doesn't shrink and it doesn't crack. That's an absolute lie, and absolutely does. So, you know, there were a couple cracks that I had to refill, but ultimately, after I sanded out the first coat, on this side, you can see it's already starting to dry. I had some additional lines I needed to fill. I didn't mention it before, but I'll mention it now. This stuff, Bondo, is pretty nasty stuff. It smells awful. You absolutely want to use a mask when you're applying it and when you're sanding it. Generally, you should use a mask when you're sanding anything, with the exception maybe of wet sanding because all the particles get caught, but on the safe side, you can still wear a mask. As you can see, I'm doing this outside as well, so you want to make sure you're in a super ventilated area because, like I said, this Bondo stuff smells terrible, and if it's half as bad for you as it smells, then it's not going to be good at all. So anyway, I'm going to let this dry probably for another couple hours, come back and do another sanding, and then I will show you where it's at. All right, what I have done is gone ahead and done a second layer of Bondo, very targeted, sanded. I've also rinsed this. Bondo can get wet once it's fully cured, so I recommend that before you go and prime anything, just don't wipe it down. I use canned air when I'm sanding to get the residue out of my way, but however, before you actually go in for primer, I highly recommend you go ahead and rinse it. And again, as long as the Bondo is fully cured, it'll be fine. You can see it's pretty dark because it's wet, but it is drying out rather quickly. I'll let this dry probably at least several hours, if not overnight, just to make 100% sure that it's completely dry before I start to put down the first coat of primer. As I go around here, you can see didn't use a lot, but we have filled in a number of imperfections. How much time you spend on the underside of this helmet is really up to you. People don't really see it, right? If you're using this for cosplay, no one's really going to see it. I went ahead and did some filling here just because it makes me feel better. I'm sometimes a little bit of a perfectionist. But as you can see, not a ton used, mostly just for the seams. That's a real clean shot of where you can see that I sealed the seam. This should be fine and almost completely invisible once I primer it. So we'll be back shortly to show you that.